We've seen an increase of knee injuries going on. Does that sound right? No.
We've been seeing a lot of people coming in with knee injuries or knee pain.
See?
So you have to say.
This is why she should be doing this. We're seeing a lot of people coming in with a lot of knee injuries. So we're going to give you guys 3 movements today to kind of help that out, whether it's ACL, PCL, MCL, or LCL. So whether it's front, back, side, or side, all these are going to work. They're going to help kind of build the joint and tendon strength, as well as loosen up maybe some of the tight muscles that we have, tight quads or tight calves. But first, before that, we just want to explain why we see a lot of knee issues or why you might be having knee pain. Whether it's from a fall or an accident, that's one thing. But if we've just kind of created a faulty pattern, put a lot of repetition, and just been kind of loading that knee incorrectly. One we'll start off with, if it is summer here in New England, obviously, so people are out there running. So if we've been running a lot of miles and we've been doing a lot of heel striking into our running pattern, that is pretty much stopping us when we are running, and that is going to send a lot of pain or high impact to the knee. So we might be feeling a little bit of pain underneath the patella. That is very common. Another one would be if we're doing a lot of high repetitions of squats and we're not having that balance from front to back, that we may be a little bit more of that knee heavy when we're coming up, can add in a little more tension onto the knees rather than trying to load the glutes. And a lot of that is due because of the lack of mobility that we might be seeing. In general, the knee is a stable joint, so our body is stacked. If you watch the Revive the Body series under our playlist, we talk about this a little bit further in depth, but the body is stacked with mobile and stable joints. So this ankle is going to be mobile, the knee is going to be stable, the hip is going to be mobile. If a mobile joint is not mobile, it's going to steal that mobility from the stable joint. So if we're going into a squat and we're pushing the hips back and leaning over, instead of when we're squatting that the knees do slightly drive forward, if we're doing that, then we're going to be stealing the mobility that should be coming from the ankle and we're going into the knee. As well as if we're in a seated position a lot, driving a lot, or in general just sitting at our desk, the quad muscles attach actually underneath this kneecap. So if we're sitting, we're shortening the quad muscle, lengthening that hamstring. It's going to start creating tension and pulling on the knee as well too. If you want, like I said, if you want a little bit more explanation onto all that stuff we talked about, go into our playlist on our YouTube channel. Go click on Revive the Body series, and it's the part 1 of 5 that we do discuss all about the mobile and stable joints being stacked and how that can kind of affect your normal gait, your normal posture, and things that you're doing. But anyways, in general, those are a couple things that we're going to see on why we get that knee pain. And there's tons of other things. It doesn't mean that something that you did yesterday or the day before is causing that knee pain. If you're just seeing some of that like arise, what did I do the past day or two? It could be just a repetitive pattern that you've done for 10 years, 15 years, and yesterday it just decided that it had enough of dealing with that, so it's kind of sending you a pain signal. So whatever it may be, these are some general exercises, general movements that we can do that's going to help you improve the strength of the tendon in the joint and get you some mobility back into the ankle or the hip where it should be. The first we're going to start off with is the Patrick Step Up. This one, what we can do is we can gladly hold on to an upright, hold on to a doorway or anything for stability. We're not worrying about the stability right now. We're more worried about getting the volume in and the exercise and the movement. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to just take one foot and we're going to step out like we're going to step off a stair. Man, my brain can't think today. And we're going to just drive the knee forward. So as you can see, she's keeping her body relatively upright right now. We're just bending the knee forward, so we're going to be improving that ankle mobility. And when we're standing up, we're making sure that we fully extend that knee so we feel the quad fire, and we're going to be squeezing the glutes. When we're doing this, we want the heel of the opposite leg touching like the ground, and imagine that you're placing it on a raw egg. So we're not smashing to the ground, we're not resting on the ground, we're just touching down. And if you also notice, Nadine has her foot in dorsiflexion, so we're not just keeping the foot there. This is going to help fire up the quad, lengthen that leg, build some stability in the joint and tendon, and she's just going to kind of slowly dip. If she wants to increase the difficulty of that movement in that position, she can extend that foot a little bit further out. This is going to require her to bend the knee of the other leg a little bit more. What I do like about this too is as she's going down, she's going to be leaning back slightly. So I always look for a shoulder to ankle. We're looking at a straight line here. So as she comes down, as she stands up, she can upright and keep this foot hovering. So she's going to bend the knee, lean back, stand up, and upright that system. The entire time she's paying attention to keeping the left heel on the ground. We're trying to increase that ankle mobility, so you can see it when she switches this over. We're going to try and increase the ankle mobility and try and reach out far. If we hear some pops and cracks, as long as there's no pain, that's good. We're creating space. And in general, we want to try to knock out, I would say 3 sets. Start off with 3 sets of 15 per leg is a good way. Build up to 20 reps, 25 reps, even 30 reps per side, switching that up. Looking at that higher volume is what we're trying to really work. Get that blood fluid, that synovial fluid around the knee. That's the first exercise. And if we could always kind of kick that up by putting your foot on a slant board, elevating your heel onto a plate, anything like that, that we can kind of increase the difficulty of that movement in there. The second one we're going to talk about is building more of the LCL and MCL. And these are going to be like monster walks. And a lot of people know this, and we do this for the hips, which it does help out a lot. Once again, we are going to fire up some of the TFL and the piriformis while we do this. Why is that important? Because they're tied to our IT band. So if you are rolling out your IT band, it's going to tie all the way down through your leg. So if we're building the muscles, we're increasing the mobility, the function of the hip, as well as improving the functionality of the knees. So in general, when people do these movements, they're just picking the leg up and shifting their entire body with the leg over to the side. Great way to start, but what we're doing is we're not getting that banded resistance that we need to help kind of fire up the TFL and the piriformis, the deep gluteal muscle that's in charge of internal and external rotation of the leg. So the way that I like to think about this is we're going to go into a slight knee bend. Imagine you're in the outfield if you played softball or baseball. If you played tennis, you're waiting for the serve, or whatever sport it is, you're waiting for that serve and that good ready stance. I also look at it as the rest position. So if we got done running, sometimes we bend over and rest our hands on our knees. If we just take the hands off, we could still maintain that equal pressure forward to back. So that's a good way to start with slight knee bend. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pick one leg up. We're going to keep the weight over the leg that is not moving. We're going to pick the leg up, extend the leg out, put the foot down. Then we're going to shift our body weight over to that leg, pick the leg up, hold it, and then slowly bring that in. And we're going to place it down, and we're going to repeat that. Shift the body over. She's going to shift it over to the right. Pick the leg up, step it out, then shift the body weight to the left. Pick the left foot up. Try to feel that resistance. Good. And let's go the opposite direction. She wants to feel the resistance. You want to be able to pick that foot up, hold it there, and not have that leg kind of be brought in. So if she does this incorrectly, she's going to that foot's just going to slide really quick in. We want to have that good second where we are picking it up and then slowly bringing it in. Make sure we're always maintaining about 12 inches of space between the legs, so we're not taking a step out and bringing the feet together. We don't want that. We always want that tension on that band. And go with small baby steps. Maybe we're just starting off with reaching out and coming back in. So we're not even taking that step. We're just finding that balance of what we can do. Then once we get good, we can kind of transition to this. But we could always start off with just picking up that foot and bringing it in and out. We could also work on bringing that foot forward with that monster band. This is a good way if we find ourselves kind of like having to force that leg out and the leg is being dragged in. This is a good way that we can adapt that to make sure we get comfortable on those bands. Use anything you can. Obviously, you can keep these relatively light. That's what I would say to start, and then build up into a thicker band, and then you could even get the thick monster band, which is 2 or 3 inches, for a lot of work that's going to generate some strength into the hips and free up some of those ankles, or free up the knees, pain in the knees. And finally, the last one that we're going to do is banded quad extensions or banded knee extensions. Highly suggest putting a pad on there, especially if your knees are sensitive. And this one can be very, very challenging for most people. The focus for this is that the hips are going to be driving forward the entire time. So I want you to think like you're doing a limbo. We're driving the hips the entire time. Arms are going to be straight. We're just going to lean back with the hips forward where we can, and then keeping the glutes squeezed, we're going to try and bring the body forward on top of that. It's almost like a reverse Nordic curl. Now, she is keeping her toes tucked, which I really like because we're going to get more engagement of the muscles. But if you have to go flat-footed at first, the tops are flat, that's okay as well. It does help when we get really far down that we do keep those toes tucked as well too. So I would try both. Play around with them. They both have their benefit. Once we get to just moving a couple inches and we feel good, we feel that that weight is supported by the band, what we can do is work our way down in band size, and in the process, this should get us a little bit further back. And our goal is to make sure that the hips are forward the entire time. We're getting a good glute contraction. You should feel the stretch going through this entire quad, especially if we do sit, or if we've been sitting a lot, if we've been in a chair driving. We're definitely going to feel a lot of the tension here. This is one of the best ways to open up the hip. We show you a lot of psoas openers and things like that. This is a really good way to open up that hip, lengthen those muscles, because those quad muscles are attaching below the knee. So a lot of people think the quad muscles ends above the knee. Well, no, the quad muscles will extend kind of around the knee, and then the calf muscles will actually extend above the knee. That's how we secure that joint. It's kind of the muscles will sit like this with the knee in the middle. So don't forget about that. So if we are kneeling and we're leaning back, we're really stretching that entire quad, or all the quad muscles, when we're going through that. So try these 3 movements out. The Patrick step up. We're going to do some monster walks, and then we're also going to be doing banded quad extensions or banding knee extensions. Try those out. I would stick with more of a higher volume, lower weight on that. So 3 sets of 15, I would start off on each one of those movements. Move up 20, 25, and we get up to about 30 reps. That's what we're looking for. 3 sets of 30 reps is going to be really good of sending all the fluid we need, releasing that, building our joints and tendons like we talked about, and getting a little bit more movement into that knee. So try those out. Be consistent with these. I can't stress this enough. It's not like you're working a muscle where you can squat 2 times a week and see a big improvement. And it doesn't really matter if you squat 2 times a week or 3 times a week. It's relatively the same. This is different. When we're dealing with a stable joint, we need the consistency. You need to be doing these every single day. 5 days a week, I would say. Give yourself 2 days of just an active recovery or rest. Go for a walk, go for a run, something like that, and try and think about feeling how much stronger the knee feels, how much less pain. But this is a movement we need to be consistent with. You either continue going to the doctor, continuing and getting cortisone shots in the knee, continuing all that process, or you can start taking those 5 to 10 minute steps a day to start rebuilding the compensatory patterns that we have in our system. That's a word always gets me. Compensatory patterns that we have in our system to start reversing those patterns. And in general, I learned this from David Weinstock in neurokinetic therapy, that it takes 300 repetitions to create a faulty pattern, 3,000 to correct it, okay? So if you've been walking with a faulty pattern for 10 years, think of how many steps that you've been taking to just beat that into the system where the brain doesn't know any different. It's these small steps that were consistent throughout the day that are going to change that pattern and rebuild your gait, rebuild what muscles are loading, and as well as creating more freedom in the ankle and hip and more stability in the knee. As always, if you like our videos, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and we'll see you guys next week.